3 weeks since we've been out here to the duck swamp, so I'm really excited to see what this is going to look like. I was hoping to see this. We are just now going to seed head. We're in the first week of September, and we have got seeds starting to produce on our rice in here. That is fantastic news. That's what we want to see. That definitely tells you we're in the home stretch here. Unlike the other swamps in the farm pond that were planted in predominantly Japanese millet last year, this swamp has only ever been set in rice. And because of that, we're not seeing that overcrowding of the volunteer Japanese millet, which is great. We've got a little bit of Japanese millet here and there when we did some light seeding around the edges, but for the most part, this is all 100% agricultural rice. Got a really nice size head here. It's as tall as my hand is. This is actually pretty clean rice too. I know some people spray, which is great. We've got some volunteers in here, some nutsedge. I don't know what that is. Got a little seed on it though. But overall, this rice is pretty clean. Not a whole lot of crowding, not a lot of competition, but we got a lot of rice. Go check our water level control structure here. Make sure the beavers have not infiltrated. Our beaver is still traversing from the upper pond to the lower. I can see some active footprints in here. But from looking at the control structure, he has not figured out how to get in there. I spoke slightly too soon. He is in the fence, but he's just not putting a whole lot of sticks in here, which tells me he's having a hard time getting in here. The water level is already low enough where even what he's doing is not going to impact us. But I'm going to go ahead and dig this out and see if I can figure out where he's getting in. And at this stage of the game, with the rice already going to head, maturing out, it would be fine if the water level did come up even a foot. It could tolerate it pretty good by the time I got back in here. That's our concrete footer that our boards slide in behind. If you've not watched the water level control videos of me building these things, please go back and watch them. I'll actually drop a link to those down below to help you guys navigate there. This little structure I came up with works fantastic. Beaver pack dug out. Let's go check on the other swamp. Hopefully there's no problems down there. That's actually where we pulled out 5 beavers this year, and they were most active. So fingers crossed they've not gotten to that cage either. But if they have, we'll get them cleaned up. Have arrived at the lower swamp, and this is actually really cool. All this Japanese millet that reseeded itself from last year, because it sprouted so early a volunteer, it's already completely dried out. Well, what remains is the rice we planted. So before we couldn't tell how much rice was actually in here compared to the volunteer millet, but now there's no doubt whatsoever. All this tall, really dark green leaf structure, that's all rice that we've seeded in here. And this rice will start going to seed head here in another week or two. This was planted about 10 days after the other swamp. That rice will start staggering in a little bit later. But before the rice is matured out, we've already got a bunch of volunteer millet that's nice and dry and ready for the October season. As we navigate through some of these alders and buckbrush up here, you can see we've got a nice blend of smartweed. We've got the drying out volunteer Japanese millet from last year. And then of course all the dark green is the rice that we planted this year. So another nice blend and buffet of food up here in the spot the wood ducks love to sit. Decided to run down here and just confirm the beaver is not active and in the cage, and that is the case. So there is no activity whatsoever. The water level is really low. It's actually below our lowest breach point, but there's no sign of beaver getting into this cage after the last time I buttoned and kind of shirted up around the outside. This whole bank is just like the upper end, where we have a lot of the rice we planted coming in and very happy. And then we've got some volunteer Japanese millet from the previous year's seeding coming behind it as well. But all this dark green, that's our rice. And right up here, we've got the Japanese millet going to head and just starting to dry out a little bit, but it should be plenty dry come October duck season. I'm gonna swap out a camera card here real quick. This camera has been marinating on this swamp edge for a month now, so I'm really curious to see what's on that. If there's anything cool, I'll drop it right here. To say I'm getting excited is an understatement. These 2 swamps are ready to roll. We just kicked off our season with a dove hunt last weekend, which was a huge success. So now my brain switches over to start worrying about ducks and geese, and we're looking good coming into mid-September. That's never a bad sign when you're rolling here to check on the farm pond. And we run wood ducks out of that little rice hole there, as well as the main pool over there. And there go the rest of them. There's a bunch of wood ducks in here. That makes a little over a dozen we ran out of here. So that is great. And I can already tell that Japanese millet got that little bit of a yellow brown look to it, which means we're at full maturity, starting to dry out. Let's go take a look at it. We are exactly 57 days after planting, and I'd say we are right on schedule. The Japanese millet is a 60-day crop, and it's fully mature and just starting to dry out really good. The barnyard grass that volunteered in here, still pretty green, but it's also starting to dry out a little bit. So that is great. And we observed, and we've been keeping an eye on this, got a bunch of smartweed in here. That'd like to start going to flower and seed here in the next couple of weeks, I would imagine. All this is gonna mature out at slightly different times, which will stagger in all this food, which is fantastic. We got about 1.5 inches of rain last night with those heavy storms, and I can tell it bumped the pond just a little bit. This is all volunteer Japanese millet that was starting to grow, and that water has creeped up into it just a little bit. But for the most part, our water level is still pretty low in here. I've had a trail camera in here for a couple weeks now, and it's actually produced some pretty cool pictures. A lot of wood ducks seem to land right in here and kind of mill around this open water here. If you look closely, there is rice in here. That's these fatter blades right here, but I don't see a lot of it. I think there's a lot of overcrowding here from all the volunteer grasses and millets. So I don't know how much productive rice we're really gonna have right here, but I did see some up here where the wood ducks were sitting. Let's go take a look at it. I guess it's the deer in here matting all this down. It actually looks like you ran a roller or a crimper through here. It's all heavily matted down. And there is a lot of Japanese millet and barnyard grass drying out in here. This is that little pocket where the wood ducks were sitting when I first got in here and they jumped the first time. Pretty cool looking. You've got standing rice all in here in standing water with enough open water for the wood ducks to want to land there. All the dark green, that's our rice coming in. So we've got some rice in here, but predominantly we've got a lot of Japanese millet and the barnyard grass volunteering. The way all this barnyard grass and millet's overhanging this water, these wood ducks can already get to it, and we're just in the second weekend of September. We got a whole nother 1.5 months to go before the duck season comes in. I'm thinking more and more ducks are going to continue to find this food in here, and we'll have just enough water to probably have a wood duck hunt. Just a quick reminder for those that might be just tuning in, this rice was actually broadcasted into standing water here, and this is the first rice I've ever actually had germinate and grow to a decent maturity broadcasted into standing water. Traditionally, we've broadcasted all of our rice onto mud flats and had a lot of success, so this was a first for us, and it seems to be doing very well, and it's very happy. Kind of a cool perspective from this corner of the pond dam here. Got kind of a horseshoe shape of water right here. Plenty of water for the wood ducks to land, we've already determined that. But the rest of this 1.5 acre pond, for the most part, is full of food from one end to the other, with the exception of a couple bare areas here and there. There we have it, 57-day pond update, along with updates from the other swamps as well. Hopefully the next time we're out here, we've got a lot of maturity. We'll have some rice heads here, and at the other swamps, we'll have a lot more rice heads starting to actually hang and fill out. But until then, thank you guys for watching. God bless. Take care.